Highlights from the second race of the weekend for the R&G British Talent Cup saw Filip Sorowiak on pole position, but Peter Willis dragged alongside him down towards the first corner with Harrison McKay on the inside as well. But the fast-starting Ethan Sparks was through on the inside and got himself quickly up into second position. Sorowiak was leading at this point, and it seemed to be what it was a repeat of race one with the RS Racing machines at the sharp end of the field. This was Ethan Sparks going through on Filip Sorowiak for the race lead. Jack Dunnerby was in the mix there as well. Ryan Frost also on board the Fibertech Honda, and Mason Foster on board the 88. Sadly, we lost Lily Rhodes from contention as she crashed out at the Fogarty S's, and as we came down in towards the final couple of corners, this is where the main overtakes were taking place also as well at unusual areas on this circuit. But we saw Filip Sorowiak having a moment that sent out Ryan Frost and caused Harrison McKay to take evasive action as Ethan Sparks took victory once again. Welcome to the R&G British Talent Cup here at Donington Park for round 8 of Bennett's BSB. It has been an enthralling weekend so far. Filip Sorowiak had nearly a race victories tally of an advantage in points going into this weekend. It now is whittled down to 18 points, and he is on the outside of the second row of the grid going into the third race of the weekend this afternoon. He's got Peter Willis and this man, Ryan Frost, who was on the deck yesterday in the middle of the second race. Jack Dunnerby is on the outside of the front row of the grid on board the Cavara Projects RS Racing machine with Harrison McKay for company alongside. However, starting on pole position is this man, Clayton Edmonds, also part of the RS Racing stable. Hasn't taken a podium so far this season, but was up the sharp end of the grid, and as you can see, set a very strong lap time to get himself onto pole position. Looking forward to this one here, Danny. 14 laps of action to come. Do you think we should be expecting much more of the same of what we saw in race 1 and 2? Absolutely.
They weren't getting away from each other yesterday. There was a long train of riders, and I think it's going to be exactly the same in this race. I will say that obviously, you know, with the shake-up of the grid a little bit, Sorowiak's going to just want to try and get himself to the front as quick as possible, but Ethan Sparks is probably going to be thinking the same thing.
Yep, no doubt about it. Riders will be heading off on their formation lap very shortly. Thankfully, the earlier rain which was here seems to have moved away now. The track is completely bone dry. It was a little bit less grippy for the third Superbike race of the weekend earlier on this afternoon, but yeah, thankfully now all looks to be okay and nothing really to worry about as the riders head down towards Redgate. Chance to get some heat into the tyres and the brakes. Let's remind you of the championship standings. Filip Sorowiak, 18 points the advantage he holds over Ethan Sparks. Ryan Frost there in third place, no points of course in race 2 yesterday, means that he is now trailing by 40. Harrison McKay also losing a bit of touch there in 4th position as well. And let's have a look at the grid then for this third and final race of the weekend. Clayton Edmonds on pole position. Harrison McKay and Jack Dunnerby for company alongside on that front row of the grid. Row 2 is headed by Frost, Willis and Sorowiak, the championship leader. Then Ethan Sparks down on row 3 ahead of Mason Foster and Julian Correa, who put in a good performance yesterday with Scott McPhee, Ben Wilson and Benja Liff alongside in 12th position. Then Josh Raymond Jr., Jack Burrows and Charlie Huntingford. Then you've got Mullen, Devine and Stevenson on row 6. Further down the order, it is Goodman and a space where we should see Isaiah Devine, but he'll not be taken to the grid for this one. You see Ben Hardwick, Max Rhodes in there as well as we complete the grid as the riders make their way through the Fogarty S's for the first time. Now, interestingly here, Danny, of course, we've got Sorowiak on the outside of the second row of the grid, but Ethan Sparks only set the 7th quickest time in the race yesterday, means that he starts from P7. So he's got a bit of work to do to make his way up to the field.
Yeah, but, you know, we've seen Ethan Sparks off the start line. He's always fast. So if he's not top 4 by turn 1, I'll eat my hat. No, I don't have on right now, but I'll find somebody's hat and I'll eat it.
I'm sure they'll be very pleased about that as well. Around the final corner, the riders come then. There is Ethan Sparks just making his way through your picture. And let's see how this one is going to work out. There is Clayton Edmonds starting on pole position on board the number 64. Would love to take his first podium of the season for the rider from Uxbridge in West London. And there is Jack Dunnerby on the outside of the front row. He featured pretty heavily in yesterday afternoon's race 2 as well. Green flag then is waved at the back. It is all eyes on the lights for 14 laps of action for the R&G British Talent Cup. Wait for the red lights to come on as the revs now rise. Right out, we're underway. Nice one from Clayton Edmonds. Not bad from Ryan Frost on the second row of the grid as well. And keep an eye out for Ethan Sparks. He'll charge through from the third row of the grid. The pocket rocket on the outside. Frost gets the whole shot and leads down towards the first corner. Clayton Edmonds slots himself into second. And then the RS Racing riders coming through very close behind. Harrison McKay just in front of his teammate as we come down through Hollywood and into Craners.
Just tell me what position we've got Sparks in there.
Yeah, he's up into, well, now third place because he's challenging his teammate. No, make that fourth.
So I'm not eating hats.
No, thank goodness for that. I was wondering we're going to have to find a Stetson to stick in the commentary box. But you see him right on the back of Harrison McKay as we come through the left-hander of Schwantz curve. Does he find his way through there? Not quite at the moment, but he's got plenty of time. Believe it or not, because of the sprint race format we've got for BSP this weekend, this is the longest race of the weekend in terms of laps, and Sparks straight through on the inside of McKay at Coppice. I mean, that's the thing with these small bikes. We do see overtakes at places that you couldn't get, say, for example, a superbike side-by-side through there. Yeah,
definitely. That is one thing you do see. Ethan Sparks is trying to make quick work of this. You know, he hasn't got rear-view mirrors. He doesn't know that Soroviak's buried a little bit further down there, but he is trying to get himself to the front and, you know, get away. Some people like to get to the front and lead, some people like to follow, but, you know, Ryan Frost as well, another great job. Sad to see him crash yesterday because he had so much pace in that race.
Big send on the inside in the background there for what looked to be Jack Burrows, who was making some ground. He's just on the fringes of the top 10. He was just lunging it to the inside down at the Melbourne Loop. Sparks into second then, challenging Ryan Frost for the race lead down into the final corner. Mason Foster has got some close company behind him in the form of Harrison McKay now as well as Jack Dunnerby. They are going 2 for 2 as we come down the start-finish straight. Ethan Sparks goes to the inside line at Redgate and to the lead for the first time. Everything he seems to touch in this championship turns to gold. Let's not forget it's his rookie season and he has completely rewritten the full book, although he does get overtaken down into Hollywood once again by Ryan Frost.
Yeah, sometimes that line is compromised, that inside line at Redgate, and it seems to be more on these smaller machines, but you can take the slightly tighter line, but just by the end of the straight there you seem to lose a bit of speed. But yeah, Ethan Sparks does a good job, and you know, he's a talent. He's got bags of talent and he's learning all the time, and one thing that he does well is he is learning, and he does learn.
Great start to the race for Jack Burrows and Josh Raymond Jr. Not so good, though, for Peter Willis. You can see he's lost 5 places from where he started on the grid. Likewise, Lewis Mullen down a few positions there as well. Through into Coppice we go. That's on the inside of Scott McPhee. Makes a move on Julian Correa. They are squabbling for points positions as they head down the back straight in towards the pocket of Yesid. Sparks on the inside of Frost. Late move to the inside, but gets it done quite nicely. Does he run it a bit deep on exit? Well, he manages to carry the momentum through the second half of that corner, and as we come down in towards the Melbourne Loop, do we see a retaliation from Frost? What about Clayton Edmonds? He's looking to the inside of Mason Foster. Sweeping line around the outside, though, for Foster. Just gives him enough track position, and he holds firm in third for now, then.
Yeah, Filip Soroviak's not in a rush. He's here, he's on the back here, he's just past his teammate Clayton Edmonds, but I was just about to say he's having such a good ride, Clayton Edmonds. I know he started on the front row and this is not where he wants to be, but he's doing a good job, good step this weekend.
Yeah, been learning from his teammates around him, Clayton Edmonds. As we said, would love to get himself onto the podium as Soroviak tries to pick off Mason Foster down into the first corner. Ethan Sparks, meanwhile, you can see 6 places he's made up. Also the quickest lap of the top 10 last time around, but for Scott McPhee, he was the only rider into the 1:39s. So, of course, a bit of battling going on at the front, but the top 2 riding like they've left the gas on at the moment. They are absolutely away and into the distance. 0.8 of a second the advantage they've got over Filip Soroviak, who sits with Mason Foster, his teammate Clayton Edmonds, as well as McKay and Dunnerby right in his wheel tracks here.
Ryan Frost is doing a good job. Second place, 4 tenths off of the race leader that last lap round, and you know, he's doing a good job. He had good pace yesterday. He was unfortunate to get caught out at that chicane in the with Ethan Sparks when he sort of caught the back wheel of Ethan Sparks, but he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, let's see what he can do for the remainder of this one. So Mason Foster, 1 podium finish to his name in 2025. That was back in round 3 at Snetterton. He's also been racing in the Spanish Moto 4 Championship, and he has taken a victory in that over the course of this year. So let's see whether the experience he's been gaining in other series will be holding him in good stead. He's up the sharp end of the field, although he's just going to get one put over on him by Jack Dunnerby, who looks to his inside. That's for 6th place for Dunnerby. Does he get the move completed on the exit of the corner? Yes, he does. So Dunnerby up through and ahead of Mason Foster. Oh no, not quite, as a matter of fact. Maybe looks at it into Goddard's, but Foster holding firm there for now. So Sparks it is that leads at the end of the third lap. Ryan Frost into second position. As we said, Danny, disappointed after yesterday, really, in terms of how it panned out in that second race, and the ultimate result wasn't a reward given the effort that we saw from him.
No, and exactly, and you know, he didn't do nothing wrong. He couldn't do anything differently if he tried. You know, it was one of those things. Ethan Sparks got held up a little bit by Philip Sorowiak's moment. He just had to sort of sit the bike up a little bit, and obviously that then Ryan Frost sort of clipped his back wheel. So, you know, it is what it is. It's a racing incident, but these guys, they learn so quickly off from races, from bad races, good races, and that's why this class is a real pleasure to watch and be a part of. But yeah, I'm interested. Sorowiak just cannot seem to go, and you know, he was 4 tenths slower on that last lap than Ethan Sparks.
Yeah, Ethan Sparks 1:39.5, Frost a 1:39.8. So yeah, trying to check out here is Ethan Sparks, but it's difficult to do so on these smaller CC machines. But Sparks is giving it a very good go. We know that Ryan Frost, beg your pardon, Philip Sorowiak likes to play the long game in these races. I was down talking to him after the first race of the weekend yesterday, and he said, you know, I was just biding my time, waiting for the right opportunity to come my way, and I knew that I had the performance sort of in my back pocket to strike at the end of the race. The difficulty he's got here with this one is that there is a bit more of a pronounced gap to Frost and Sparks, and we're only on lap 4.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and I think I'd like to think with Sorowiak's experience, he's going to just stay in them mid to high 39s, try and claw that gap back. He's only, you know, 8 tenths behind Ryan Frost there, and obviously then 6 tenths of further adrift from Ethan Sparks. So might be a little bit further now. Yeah, he's a little bit further. The gap has opened up, and yeah, Ethan Sparks did his fastest lap on that lap there.
Yeah, he's just continuing to put them in lap after lap. Again, another 1:39.5. Everybody else in the 1:39.7s, 1:39.8s, relatively speaking. They're a few tenths of a second slower. Scott McPhee and Jack Burrows going head-to-head. That's in to the Craner Curves as they squabble over 8th position. You've also got the likes of Mason Foster, Jack Dunnerby up the road, Sorowiak and Clayton Edmonds also continue battling on with one another for this final place on the podium. Given that Sorowiak has got a little bit of a cushion in the championship now, Danny, 18 points, the advantage he has over, do you think he'd be happy to settle for 3rd if Frost finished 2nd?
No.
Why is that?
No, I think he's going to want to take as many points as he can out of Ethan Sparks and Ryan Frost, but, you know, it's a hard one. It's one of those where you learn as you go on as a champion and as a competitor that these results here, like, this isn't coming super easy for him. So, you know, if he can take a 3rd place, that could be the sort of defining moment in the championship for him. So, you know, and he's a smart lad. Let's not beat around the bush. A smart lad. You know, he's a bit more experienced than everyone else, and he might just do that.
Yeah, Ryan Frost also an experienced lad as well. Let's not forget, fought for the title, missed out only by 21 points last season.
Burrows is having a fantastic ride. Yeah. Really confident into there. He's just gone up to 7th place up inside of Mason Foster. And he's having a really good race here in this 3rd race of the weekend. Yeah, he's having a cracker. Best finish of the season so far was 8th place back at Silverstone when these riders were supporting the MotoGP event. You can see him squabbling here with Mason Foster as they come down to the first corner. Scott McPhee also in the mix there as well, on board the number 19. Let's see whether he can get involved in the action here as well. Another fastest lap. We're now into the 1:39.3s at the sharp end of this one for Ethan Sparks. Up to a 2nd is the advantage. So he's pulling himself now out of slipstreaming range, isn't he, here, really? He's just trying to clear off into the distance. And we don't really see this in the R&G British Talent Cup, do we? No, and round here, usually, they have been standing a little bit more bunched up than this. So, yeah, he's just checking out 39.301. Ryan Frost, though, did match his lap time the previous lap, and obviously it's just not enough. But it is still making it a little bit hard work for Ethan Frost for Ethan Sparks to get away. So, for the likes of Ryan Frost, Philip Sorowiak, who are, you know, a little bit further behind than perhaps they would have anticipated they would be at this stage, do you think there's an opportunity for the 3 RS Racing riders in particular to try and work together to at least close the deficit down to Frost? Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, for me, it's you know, it's one of those. I think they're just going to both try and get out, and they're just going to try and race their own race and not worry too much about the result. They're just going to try and race their own race, and not worry too much about the championship is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we'll see how that all works out though. Harrison McKay there now up back into third position ahead of Soroviak as they come through Goddard's. Also got the likes of Jack Burrows and Mason Foster, as we said, in and amongst the mix. Of course, this British Talent Cup is a springboarding championship, really. It can launch you on to great things. We've seen the likes of Casey O'Gorman come through. He, of course, was in the Moto3 World Championship earlier on this year for the 658 Squadra Corsa team. We've seen other riders that have come through these ranks and go on to do some fantastic things. Thomas Strubwick, he was the BMW F900R Cup champion as part of the BSB support bill last year. Max Cook now races in British Superbikes. So it really is the sort of first step on the ladder for a lot of riders who've maybe come through in the mini bike series, then they jump onto one of these Talent Cup bikes. Yeah,
and that's exactly what he needs to do, you know, like that, what we was talking about Casey O'Gorman, like just bridges that gap to the GP paddock. And, you know, for us, for the future of motorcycle racing, British Superbikes is a breeding ground for that talent, and we need to make sure we're looking after them, we're sort of nurturing that and getting them into the main sort of people's eyes and getting them races. You know, like obviously Scott Ogden as well, like he's a Moto3 rider, and yeah, it's good for the championship.
Yeah, they're learning so much every time they're out on circuit. As Soroviak repays the favour on McKay down into the Fogarty S's. So the two red bikes split the black and green one as they run down in towards the Melbourne Loop. Does Clayton Edmonds try and pick his pocket into there? He does. He's on the inside. Can he get it stuck? Oh, just closes the door, does Harrison McKay there, and denies the opportunity for Clayton Edmonds to attack.
Last lap round, Tom, 39.6 by Sparks, 39.3 by Frost. He's got that gap down to just under 0.7 of a second. He's not done yet, and you know, there's still 8 laps to go. There's still a long race. That looks even closer now this lap. It is half a second.
Yeah, it's coming down, isn't it? As you say, again, another 0.3 of a second or so last time around, and about another 1/10.5 over the course of this one. So yeah, he's really bringing the gap down now, is Ryan Frost, and let's see whether he's just been playing the long game. Maybe he's been waiting for the right opportunity to pounce, built enough of a gap to not worry about the likes of Soroviak, McKay and Edmonds, who are pretty close for company behind one another. And now that they've got that cushion in front, if he can close up the gap, Ryan Frost, they can start squabbling and not have to worry too much about what's going on in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, these both need to win this race just for the points that they're going to pull back on Filip Soroviak. I know he's only in third place, but you know, they both need to try and take advantage of that, especially Ryan Frost. Obviously, after the crash yesterday, he really needs to try and sort of gain them, get that sort of consistent form. You know, he's been so consistent all year, and that crash yesterday, unfortunately, that ruled him out of it. But yeah, he needs to just try and get as many points as he can.
Look at this, you've got a gaggle of 7 riders who are now all in the same picture and all very much up for a podium finish. This is the battle for the last place on that podium as Soroviak looks to the inside of McKay. This is where McKay got him last time around, and Soroviak is then back through. What about Jack Dunnerby as well? He's been on the precipice of some strong results this season. He's had a few podium finishes to his name, and he's looking to the inside of Clayton Edmonds down into the Melbourne Loop. But the problem is, when you take that tighter line, it just pinches you to the inside, doesn't it? And if you're on that wider sweeping line, you might think, oh, well, they're going to get past looking at it from the outside, but they can carry more momentum and hold place.
Yeah, it's stressful, that is, because there are 2 lines there. You can sort of peel off early and just try and make the triangle, like the corner of a triangle. Oh, this gap's got close. Sorry, we've just panned to this shot, and obviously we are. Let's getting closer. But yeah, there's sort of 2 lines there, and it does stress me out when you get to the inside. Somebody's on the outside braking extra hard and turning in on you, and you can't do nothing else, and that's when you do see the crashes.
Ryan Frost, as we see there, has closed the gap down quite a lot over the last few laps, and now he is all over the rear wheel of Ethan Sparks. So despite Sparky's strong start to this race, he's now coming under ever-increasing pressure from the Fibertech Honda rider. 1 win so far in 2025 for Ryan Frost. Can he add another to his tally? Well, he's challenging as we come through the Schwantz curve and we head in towards McLean. Sparky's got it covered off for now, but as we come over the rise and into Coppice, you can imagine it's a case of when and not if he's going to pounce.
Yeah, he's going to have a go, and you know, this is really good, you know, for both of these. They're going to get so much experience from that, you know, like Ethan Sparks under pressure. His pitbull's gone from 1.2 or a second, sorry, just all the way down to 0.2, and he's probably going to have +0 on his board now. So it's really good for him to learn and to sort of, you know, make the most of this.
Quickest lap of the race, the R&G British Talent Cup here was a 1:39.2. Overall, we saw a 1:38.8 a couple of years ago. As Frost looks to the inside line, can he get this one stopped into the Melbourne loop? Sparks has got the sweeping line on the outside and just blocks the attack for the time being from the Fibertech Honda rider, but it's getting pretty close now. We've got, what, 5 laps to go at the end of this one, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this battle is going to develop. Behind, it's still pretty close for contention as well for that final podium place. Soroviak just at the helm of it, as you can see there in the background. Another 6 riders ready to try and pounce.
Yeah, it's amazing that group just bunched right up, but obviously the top 2 just managed to just get away, get a little bit of a gap as we see Dunamy up the inside of Burrows.
Yeah, just gets the nose chopped off there by Jack Burrows. As you said, phenomenal ride from Burrows on board the number 16 machine, having a great run of things, and we'll be learning a lot out on track there, no doubt. Down towards the old hairpin. Oh, what I thought McKay was going to have a little look to the inside there, just taking a bit more corner speed in the second part of the Craner curves, and decides not to send it to the inside. Burrows, meanwhile, looks to try and get the better of Mason Foster for 6th position. We cross back, though, to the 3 RS racing machines that are looking at this final podium place. McKay there, still in the middle of the picture. Over the rise and into Coppice. Does he do what Sparks has been doing so often this weekend? Not at the moment. Meanwhile, Sparks versus Frost, the gap still pretty stable, a couple of tenths of a second or so. You can see visibly very, very close indeed. It's setting us up an absolute treat as we come in towards the closing stages of this race. Harrison McKay looks really strong into the chicane here. He's carrying a lot of speed into that corner.
Yeah, he wants this podium, and I really want him to get that podium as well. You know, he's a good lad. He's trying hard. He's had a little bit of ill luck, if you like, in a few of the incidents, like that one yesterday. He got sort of caught up with that, with the Ryan Frost incident, the chicane there. But yeah, the guys are doing a great job. Mason Foster as well is doing a great job in 6th place there.
Oh.
Clayton Edmonds hanging it in there still. You know, it's just the top 2 this weekend. They've just got into their groove and have just managed to pull that little bit of a gap.
Yeah, it really would be 0 to hero stuff for Ryan Frost if he's able to pull this one off after the disappointment of the DNF here yesterday, as Foster lunges down at Redgate on Clayton Edmonds. Gets it done quite nicely, and he's up and into the top 5 positions then for Mason Foster. That's great to see, because he started the race so strongly yesterday. He was right at the sharp end and then sort of faded in the middle stages, just dropped back and didn't really have the pace to live with the front runners. Though these riders don't seem to have the pace to live with the top 2 in this race, they are still learning a lot, and clearly they are a match for one another.
Yeah, exactly, and they're all so bunched up, and I don't know if that's because of the slipstream or I don't know, but they are really bunched up. And Ethan Sparks is doing a great job to fend off Ryan Frost. Obviously, you know, he's been caught and he's handling the pressure super, super well. So
if you're Ethan Sparks here, obviously you've gone early, really, haven't you? You've pulled out your gap, you've used a bit more of your time maybe than some of the other riders around you, but now you're coming under pressure from Ryan Frost. How are you going to go about defending that position? Is it just a case of parking the bike in the right place at the right time? Is that a possibility if you've not got as much grip as the rider behind you?
Yeah, you just got to trust the process, trust your references, trust your braking markers. You know, he'll have an idea of where he might launch an attack, like obviously into here. But yeah, you have to just stay focused on doing your own thing.
They're starting to make some shapes now, these bikes, aren't they, as they're beginning to push on in the latter stages of this one. Again, Frosty having a bit of a look on Ethan Sparks, but nothing doing into that final corner. Just a little bit of a wobble coming through the second part of Goddard's there for Ethan Sparks. Maybe a little bit of a warning on the front end as we come across the timing line to begin the 3rd but last lap of action here at Donington Park. You see the front end chattering away as he come down in towards Redgate. Oh, that's Isaiah Devine, who's come into some bother, unfortunately, on another one of the Fibertech Honda machines. Looks like a technical problem for him. He was down just outside of the points positions, but that's a disappointing way to end his weekend. Thought Frost was going to have a look into the old hairpin there.
I was going to say, it's a question of where is he going to have a go?
Well, Sparks is wide. Look at this. This is the opportunity that Frost has been looking for, but he's got momentum. Does he have track position to be able to make anything stick? Sparks has got the inside line. We're going to flick it into a right-hander, though, of McLean's. Is Frost there ready for the taking? Not quite at the moment. So Sparks looks really good in this middle sector of the lap, doesn't he?
Yeah, he seems to just have a little bit. I mean, they look quite evenly matched throughout the rest of the lap. I'd say Melbourne Loop as well. Ryan Frost has got a little bit more, maybe because of his size. But the rest of the lap, they look really evenly matched. But like you say, second sector, I think we might see Ethan Sparks be a little bit quicker. But it's hard as well, because from the old hairpin all the way up to McLean's, it's real uphill. And it all matters how you get off of McLean's.
So down in towards the Fogarty S's we go. Clayton Edmonds in the middle of your picture there on board the red number 64. Here comes Frost. Again, Sparks just defends enough on the inside to not allow that attack for the race lead to take place.
Dress rehearsal.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
He's having a look.
Yeah, he's just thinking about where to place the bike, studying his competitor. You see Sparks hitting the rear wheel out of line coming into the final corner there here. I think he's just chewed a little bit more of his tyre up compared to Frost, having put those really strong lap times in the early part of the race, and now he's just having to sort of reap what he sows, really, more than anything.
Yeah, and these races are fairly long. You know, obviously 14 lap races, they're not short races, and it's tiring as well. You know, it's the third race of the weekend for them, and, you know, they will be feeding it a little bit. So there might be a little bit of that to play. Is he going to get a good drive through? Crane a curve.
Looks okay. Has he got the move on the inside? Not quite at the moment, but again, just putting his bike in all sorts of different places. I just saw up the road when we were looking down the Craner curves a couple of moments ago, a couple of riders that they're coming up to lap, so let's see whether that plays a factor in it. But look at the drive that Ryan Frost gets through into Schwantz. Has he got the inside line into McLean's? The speed that Sparky is able to take going through into that right-hander is just phenomenal.
Yeah, he's going to have to be, it's going to have to be at the Melbourne Loop. It's going to have to be a little bit of a block pass if he wants to make this one stick, because he can't seem to get past him through the fast flowy corners, and, you know, those are the ones that are the sort of the safer ones to pass at. But I think we just got, Jack Burrows has got a black and white flag, gutted for him.
Track limits warning, that is, so if he does it again, then he'll be coming under the wrath of race direction. At the moment, he looks like he's okay, but just needs to be a bit careful about the painted curves. What about Ryan Frost this time around? No, not quite, but we're coming on to start the final lap, and we've got two riders battling for the sharp end of this race and for victory. Sorovic looks like he's not going to be able to settle for anything but the podium places, and possibly not even that, as McKay has gotten through on him. A shake of the head there for Jack Dunnerby, who's right behind McKay, and let's see whether Sorovic can retaliate. He can. He's down the inside at Goddard. He's got track position, he's got the line, and he's got third place. That's important for Sorovic. He needs to limit the damage that Frost is going to do in his championship lead. Yeah,
either one of these two, you know, the fact that these two are finishing ahead of him, they both need to try and obviously beat him, and Sorovic needs to try and limit that.
Look at the back markers as we come down in towards the Craner curves as well. This is where Frost has been particularly strong, but has he got the opportunity to use it? Coming down in towards the old hairpin, he's got the inside line, but Sparks has got the momentum and he holds the place for now. I wonder whether those lap riders are just going to come into them at the wrong place at the wrong time, but now Frost, he went for the outside line last time around. He's got the inside line on this occasion. Can he hold it as we come in towards McLean's? Sparks parks the bike on the apex. Does he hold the line though, because Frost is back through on the inside as we come on the rise over and into Coppice. Side by side they go, and Frost goes through and into the race lead, but he's deep, he's wide, and that allows Sparks to go back into the race lead as we come down the back straight.
This is is he going to have a go into the chicane? Is he going to try and leave it for the Melbourne? We're approaching two back markers. This could cause this last lap's result.
Oh, here we go with Ryan Frost lunging to the inside. He knows he needs to make that move stick. Was he within track limits to make that
Lovely move.
Beautiful.
Lovely pass.
As we come down into the final couple of corners, the two lap riders, are they going to get in the way? Are they going to upset an overtake opportunity there for Ethan Sparks? Frost looks like he's got this one covered off, unless there's a lunge at the final corner for Ethan Sparks to challenge for this race victory. Down into Goddard we go on lap 14 here at Donington Park, and Frost, unless he runs it wide, unless he makes a mistake, which he doesn't do so, will come out of the final corner to win here at Donington Park. Ryan Frost takes victory for Fibertech Honda. Ethan Sparks in second, and Philip Sorovic will consolidate the loss in his championship lead with a third place finish at the checkered flag ahead of Mason Foster. That's a phenomenal result from the rider from Norfolk ahead of Harrison McKay, completing the top 10 as the rest of the finishers come over the timing line in the points paying positions. What a fantastic end to that race there, Danny. Couldn't have set it up better.
No, unbelievable. And, you know, timing is everything. And that was timed perfectly. Even where they caught the back markers down the hill into the Melbourne Loop, that was timed perfectly. Ryan Frost, that was a fantastic ride. I'd say that's the best I've seen him ride all year. And, you know, we spoke in other races about people riding with intent. He really wanted to win that race, and he did that. And that's the sort of races he needs to be doing if he wants to be in contention for this this championship. So, yeah, absolutely amazing ride. Well done, Ryan Frost.
A second victory of the season for Ryan Frost on board the Fibertech Honda by MLAV Racing Team. He timed that one to perfection. I was down talking to the team manager for this weekend, Trick, and he said, you know, we know that Ryan has got what it takes. He just needs the opportunity to be able to use it. And Ethan Sparks, well, it's been an incredibly strong weekend for him with 2 wins out of the first 2 races. Second best, he has to settle for race 3, but I think he'll be happy enough with that. And Filip Sorowiak, we saw he didn't have the pace to live with the top 2 in that one. As we said, he just limits the damage that Sparks and Frost will do in that championship battle. So this is the moment then. Frost through on the inside into the Schwantz curve. That then turns for the outside line, but Sparks holds that line briefly, runs it a little bit deep, and that's the opportunity that Frost needed to get back through and on the inside into Coppice. We've seen Sparks pull that move a couple of times this weekend. Once Frost was back in front, these 2 back markers, I have to say, I wonder whether it just took Sparks' eye off the ball ever so slightly. They were just a little bit tighter going into the Melbourne Loop, and that denied an opportunity for the RS Racing rider to challenge for that lead.
Yeah, it was interesting. Up into Coppice, when he ran it in deep, it looked like he was trying to stop the bike, and I thought he's ruined all his momentum there onto the straight. But he just turned, got on the gas, got the bike back up to speed, and obviously overtook Ethan Sparks into it, and that was timed to perfection. And sometimes the back markers help, sometimes they hinder. And I would say it probably meant that it obviously, you know, it limited what Ethan Sparks could do and the amount of track he could use. But yeah, again, Filip Sorowiak, great result for the championship. Yes, it's third, it's not a race win, but he consolidated many points.
Oh, let's see what his body language is like there for Filip Sorowiak as he makes his way back into Parc Ferme. I imagine he's probably not as pleased as he would have been there. But Ryan Frost, a couple of places down, will be absolutely delighted with that. There is Trick in the background, with his hands on Ryan's shoulders at the moment. Apologies for some of the language you may have just heard down there in Parc Ferme. Emotions running high, as you can imagine. Well, let's get confirmation then of the results from a fantastic third and final race of the weekend for the R&G British Talent Cup, which sees Ryan Frost taking his second victory of the season in front of Ethan Sparks and Filip Sorowiak. 4th place for Mason Foster. That's a fantastic result for the rider from Norfolk ahead of Harrison McKay. Jack Burrows also with a very strong performance in P6 ahead of Dunaby McPhee. Clayton Edmonds, who faded a little bit towards the end, ahead of Josh Raymond Jr. Willis, Wilson, Correa, Ben Jalif and Dan Goodman complete the points finishers. 18 points was the advantage that Filip Sorowiak had in the Riders' Championship. It's now reduced down to 14 with just 5 races left to go in 2025. It is all to play for as the circus heads to Assen and then to Alton Park to complete the championship this season. See Sparks now up through into second with Ryan Frost into third as well. Ben Jalif there down a couple of places. Jack Burrows into 12th as well, courtesy of a strong finish here today.
Ryan Frost, what a performance. Yourself and Ethan Sparks there, miles up the road from everybody. Yeah, you got it done. Well done.
No, it was a good race, to be fair. Got the whole shot that I've been wanting all year, but managed to get my head down. Saw Ethan obviously had the pace on the straights and the braking, so I thought I might as well stick behind him till the end of the race and just try and tag onto the back of him. And then when I saw the seconds going up, I knew that we could do it and maintain it, so I just stuck behind him until the end and then managed to pip him on the line. But I want to say a massive thank you to my family and sponsors that have helped me. Obviously it's a tough time for us this year, finding a ride for next year, but I want to say a thank you to my mum and everyone that's helped me this year, and yeah, thank you.
There's no better calling card than a race win, so well done, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. I've got another 500 in my pocket to go to my bike build now, so yeah, it'll be nice.
Well done, great job.
Thank you very much.
Well, Ryan Frost, a monkey in his pocket then to help towards whatever bike he's going to build and go and race next year. Hopefully we'll see him on the grid somewhere, if it's not in the British Championship, somewhere else I'm sure. Talent like that is not to be missed out on, and a fantastic ride from Ryan Frost. He's in third in the championship. Ethan Sparks in second place as well. The gap now down to 14 points with Filip Sorowiak finishing P3. And the riders making their way up onto the podium momentarily for the third and final time this weekend. It's been a busy old time for the R&G British Talent Cup. They have been absolutely flat out over the course of this weekend. 2 races yesterday, 1 here today as well. And there is Ethan Sparks, short in stature, but certainly not in talent. He is riding very well and has ridden very well this weekend. A double victory yesterday and he'll be disappointed to have missed out on the win here this afternoon, but I have to say, very, very strong performance in his rookie season. And Filip Sorowiak, I think he'll be a bit disappointed with P3. He's limited the damage that Sparks and Frost did, though, in the championship. That's the most important thing for Sorowiak. You've got to take the points where it counts. As the three riders making their way on to the rostrum here at Donington Park. Thankfully, the rain has stayed away here this afternoon as well after a brief shower earlier on. But there is Filip Sorowiak, P3 for him. That's his third place finish of the season. Second place for Ethan Sparks. That's his fourth second place finish of the year. And of course, the top step of the podium for Ryan Frost for the second time. Closes the gap down to Ethan Sparks in second in the championship. Sparks in turn closes the gap down to Filip Sorowiak, so it's a win-win all round for the top two. As now the podium celebrations and presentations begin. Another trophy for Sorowiak to take home, as well as Ethan Sparks there. And of course, a man who'll be grinning from ear to ear all the way back to Banbury in Oxfordshire. Ryan Frost, the winner of the third and final race of the weekend. Phenomenal job, what great racing, and of course the show continues at Aston in a fortnight's time. Highlights then from the third and final race of the R&G British Talent Cup saw Clayton Edmonds starting that one on pole position. We kept an eye out though for Ethan Sparks from the third row of the grid. He was a fast charger and always a quick starter. He was already into P3 by the first corner. He then set his sights on Clayton Edmonds' second place as Ryan Frost was in the lead in the initial stages. We also saw Mason Foster, Jack Dunnerby in the mix there as well. And Jack Burrows having a great start to this one. What eventually would unravel is Ryan Frost and Ethan Sparks would clear off into the distance and leave the riders behind battling for the final podium places. Sparky looked like he had a comfortable cushion in his pocket, and we wondered whether that lead would be able to be assailed, but lap after lap, a few tenths here and a few tenths there, and we saw Ryan Frost closing the deficit down to the race leader and eventually challenging for that race lead. It would come down though to the final lap of racing. They came up onto some back markers. And you can see there, Ryan Frost getting the move done at the Boggins. Yes, is taking his second win of the season. Sparks in second, and Sorowiak on the podium in third.